Hi guys, today I'll be taking a look at a very unique tactile switch, the NovelKeys Blueberry. Let's get started. Now, the NovelKeys Blueberry is a tactile switch made with the same materials as the NovelKeys cream switches, meaning it's completely made out of POM. And if you want to learn more about that, watch my NovelKeys cream video where I go more in depth about the material. So we've learned that these are essentially the tactile versions of the cream switches. However, unlike most tactile switches, these have a unique characteristic. As you can see, on the top picture is the Cherry MX clear stem and on the bottom is the Blueberry stem. And you can see just how the Blueberry switch achieves an elongated tactility for an MX design. It's not something I've seen before, it's very unique. Now, in terms of pricing, these currently go for around £8 for 10 switches on AliExpress, placing them firmly in the enthusiast category. You can get them for cheaper, but NovelKeys have discontinued this switch for their newer cream tactiles, so buy these when you still can. And this is what they look like when disassembled. Feel free to pause the video. Now, let's move on to the switch categories. On-center key presses are quite scratchy, with some switches being smoother than others. Off-center key presses are even scratchier and even more inconsistent. It's definitely not a pleasant feel when you press them off-center. Overall, if you're looking for smoothness, skip these, they aren't worth it. 4 out of 10. Now for the most interesting part, the weighting. The weighting is very heavy, quite a bit more than the Cherry MX Clear. Both switches bottom out and actuate at similar forces, but the Blueberry switch has a higher tactile peak at roughly 70 grams instead of 65, and it has a much longer tactile bump requiring more work to push down. Additionally, and strangely, there are two tactile bumps, a smaller one at the start of the key press and the elongated tactile bump, which is the main feature of the switch. Now for the feel of the switch, it's very heavy like I mentioned, and to demonstrate just how heavy, I'm gonna give you an analogy. Essentially, think of it like this: using the Cherry MX Clear is like pushing a car that weighs 1 ton for 1 meter. But using the NovelKeys Blueberry is like pushing that exact same car, but for 2 meters, which requires more work. Overall, the common theme is, it's a heavy switch, it's not badly weighted or anything, but it's not something I can recommend to most people out there. Even I wouldn't use these daily. 5 out of 10. Now sound is very clacky, but I wouldn't say they are thocky in any way, and I think the reason why is because of the heavy springs just wanting to expand for a metallic upstroke, for a lack of a better term. 6 out of 10. Now, take a listen and enjoy. Now, as a heavy tactile switch, this is a formula specifically targeted towards me. However, I have two main gripes about these. Number 1, whilst I do like the feel of the elongated tactile bump, it introduces a significant amount of scratchiness, which is not ideal, and this is the biggest downside of the switch as a whole. Number 2, these have two separate tactile bumps, a smaller one at the start of the key press and followed by the main tactility. It's not super obvious when typing at normal speeds, but when typing slowly it does feel weird, almost like there's a quality issue with them. Overall, these switches perform decently, though quite tiring to use in some cases. They remind me of Topra in a sense, but not as well put together. 6 out of 10. Now, gaming with these wasn't as bad as I originally thought. It's pretty decent even in fast-paced games. Then again, I'm more used to heavy switches in general. Additionally, these are great switches for those looking to rely on tactility when gaming, Although you have to keep in mind that these are significantly scratchier compared to the Durock T1 and the Celio 67g, and it's not as balanced as those two. Overall, I found it to be a decent switch for gaming, however I would not recommend it mainly because of the scratchiness and the heavy weighting making it difficult to predict movement in fast-paced games compared to other switches. 6 out of 10. In conclusion, it's too scratchy and too heavy for most people, and most of you should avoid this, especially for how much they're going for right now. 80p per switch is a joke for these, honestly. The final score for this switch is 27 out of 50 or 54%. A bit disappointing. Anyway, next time I'll be looking at a more promising tactile switch. Until then, take care and goodbye.